The Toki in Maori and Mangayan is the axle adze. Iwa Toki is the axe dirge, and so forth. And there's some more information here about New Zealand, the Maori. The ancient Egyptian adze preserved in the British Museum is identical to the Toki of New Zealand. Toki, not only in shape but also in the manner of tying on the stone to the handle, and likewise with the sinet with which it is bound. The Maori wicker work is also called taiki, and is identical with the Irish toka, the wattled causeway, the Akkadian tak for reed matting, and the English tak for weaving, from teka, Egyptian, to cross, twist or interweave. The tima or hock of the Maori is the same implement of husbandry as it was in Egypt. The curious dibble or pick placed in the hands of Kem, the primeval plough. The Maori have also used a weapon made of stone or of whale's bone used for hand-to-hand fighting called the mere or patu. They used it in World War II. Come up against Germans with bayonets, bam, take off the top of their head. That's how sharp it was. And the Germans thought they were devils because they did the haka or marry, war cry, dance, and scared the crap out of them, right? They thought, oh, these are ghosts. Mine are, we've got to get out of here, you know. Okay, yeah, patu, take the top of your head off. And then plus they go, blah, blah, you know. Give you this expression and scare the crap out of you. It's a fear-mongering thing, right? Makes you scared, right? It is a club of curious shape which has been likened to a soda water bottle with the bowl flattened. Some of these war weapons made of green jade were held to be the most precious heirlooms of the Maori chiefs. The names of mere and patu agree with the Egyptian mirhu and pet. The mirhu is a club or boat hook. Now an early form of the scepter, which can be traced into the war weapon, was the paddle blade called the pet scepter. I wonder if that's what Reggie on Sarnetta video live was saying, a live show was saying, is the was scepter. Maybe that's something different. We haven't really looked at the video yet. Okay, so this is held in the hand as a sign of the Kerp, the princeps consecrated one, His Majesty. Various paddle blades, as the Usa and Hepi, also approach the shape of the mere or patu, the Maori weapon, and tend to identify the type with the pet scepter of Egypt. A secret stone is used for purposes of divination by the Tasmanians and was called heka in Maori. It's to perform a ceremony with incantation and so forth. A very sacred relic on antiquity was shown to Sir Grey. He was a very he was a politician, governor, something like that, and apparently he was not very nice. You know, he did atrocities. Well, we don't know that much about that guy. That's what we've come across, right? So this was shown to Sir George Grey. We think his grave was at the bottom steps of the Grafton graveyard, but because it's, the sign there says that, right? Governor Grey. Pretty sure it was him. But yeah, no one's really taking care of it. So yeah, it's real hard to read the writing on it. A very sacred relic of antiquity was shown to Sir George Grey on the islands of Mokoia in the middle of Rotorua Lake during his visit in 1866. Two aged priests were still keeping watch over their treasured symbol preserved on the site of an ancient temple. This was an image the size of life, well executed in a species of porphyry, represented in a sitting posture with the elbows resting on the knees and the face looking upwards. One of those apparently brought by the ancestors who first entered the island, as the stone could not have been procured on that side of the world. Yeah, there is a Greek philosopher apparently called Porphyry. We're pretty sure of that as well. Rotorua means a double lake, which corresponds to the pool of two truths. The priest took the governor, Sir George Grey, to the place where the giant of Rotorua, called Tuorangi, was interred in a stone coffer or cyst. Was he buried there or sealed in there? 8.5 feet long, formed of flagstones with a sloping top like the roof of a house. The ridge of it being curiously carved. And there's a footnote down the bottom here. One, Te Ika a Maui, paragraph 31-32. There's a book you can look at, right? Reference that. Tuarongo, rongo, got the sound there. Tuarongo, Maori, Maori is the back or ridge of the house. Tuarangi would donate the ridge of heaven, and as tu means to stand erect, like e2. It's an E-tu. E2. The giant Tuarangi was no doubt a form of the heaven raiser and supporter, the giant, the Maori Nimrod, or Nimrod. One of the Egyptian gods is termed soul type in the roofed house. And there's a footnote here. What's that, like ritual or something? Chapter something. Roman numerals. The allegories and the illustrations found amongst the Maori and Polynesians are often so ancient that they resuscitate an almost effaced type. The lizard is one of these. It is extant as the ideograph of multiplying and becoming numerous, but was comparatively superseded in monumental times. The lizard is to the Maori and Tasmanian woman what the serpent became in Egypt, a feminine type of the two truths on which the multiplying depends. The eel is another almost superseded symbol. Yeah, smoked eel, beautiful, caught out of a river, fresh, all slimy, etc. You clean it up, chop it up, and you smoke it. I don't mean roll up in cigarette paper, but you use the smoker. Beautiful. Not many people do that these days. The Athenian comic writers Anaxandrides and Antiphanes scoffed at the Egyptians for considering the eel. It's like a black slippery snake. It's in the lakes and all, creeks and all that sort of stuff. A powerful daemon, and an equal of the gods. The eel was sacred to Hapi Mu, or the Nile, and it was also a type of tum. It's a votive mummy case in bronze, and that's by Lemans, some writer called Lemans, a researcher. Hapi Mu may be rendered the water concealed. Tum was a sun which was an appropriate type for the crosser beneath the waters. Where are we? Tum was the sun which made its way through the fabled waters of the deep, and the eel was an appropriate type for the crosser beneath the waters. The eel as a solar symbol, like the frog, is so ancient that it belongs to a time when there was neither boat nor bridge, and the big fish was the boat, as in the Mangaian myths, where the whale, sharks and large fish are called canoes. The frog spawned a bridge as if it were over the surface of the waters, and the eel made its way at the bottom through the mode of mythology. So the god Shu and the solar god were said to transform into the cat, because this animal could see to make its way by night. Such modes of representation did not originate in worship, but in necessity and utility. Tum was the earlier Aten or Atun, the circle maker, the deity of the disc, the one who crossed the abyss, bridged the void, completed the circle when he was considered as the child of the mother. This form of the god, whose type was the eel, has been preserved in the Maori and Mangaian mythology, in which Atun is tuna. Yeah, that's what we call it. It's a Maori word, te reo, word for tuna, language word for tuna. The divine Maori, the divine solar hero who crossed the waters of the inundation in the shape of an eel. Tune is... No, it's not tune, like tune, it's tuna. Jeez. Gerald Messi. Sure, it's tuna. But here's got tune. Maybe I'm wrong. Is the Maori name of the eel. Yeah, tune. Tune. Yeah. Is the Maori name of the eel, and the word eel is identical with El and A, the son who made the passage of the underworld as the Af-sun or Atun. Okay, so El, or you Hebrew Israelites, you Yahwists, etc., that's where it's come from. Canaan, these pagans, these Egyptians who occupied it. The Mithraim. Okay? So you're worshipping, you're going Elohim, Elalel, all that sort of stuff. You're worshipping, you're praising a pagan god. There's the evidence. El, who made the passage of the underworld as the Af-sun or Atun. So that came from Egypt. The Egyptians, the Canaanites, Ugaritic. In the story of Ina, who had a divine lover, daughter of Kui the blind, who dwelt in the shadow of the cave of Tautua, Tuna, the eel god, appears to her and tells her of the coming flood and of an eel that will be landed at her threshold. She is instructed to chop off its head and bury it. This was done, and Ina daily visited the grave of the eel god, her lover. One day she saw a stout green shoot piercing the soil. The next day this head divided into twig. into two. The twin shoots from one root, etc., etc. Tautua, the ridge of the rest, answers to the Egyptian tattoo, the eternal region, the place of the pool of the two truths, etc., etc. In the twin tree called the tree of life and knowledge, the twin Persea tree of life in Egypt. Tuna, the eel god, is one with Atun and Tum, who was duplicated in EU, and who brings peace just as Tuna does, and so forth. So you see the similarity, Kemetans, Egyptian followers, Maori has to your language. Yeah, very similar there. Not saying same, it's very similar. The Maori have preserved the solar hawk of mythology in the shape of their kite, which they fly for amusements. It is called kahu. Hawk, circus Goldie, and has the tail and claws of a hawk, etc., etc. And it goes on about me. For the north quarter is also the name of the number 9, and it denotes a fulfillment, the completion of a cycle, etc., etc. A relic of this reckoning is extant. I think it's got here. About July. The Egyptian year began in July with a starting point also from the solstice in Misora, June, and March would be the 9th month. For example, Me, the month of the equinox. A relic of this reckoning is extant with the Maori, who call the month of March Maihe or Maya, although their year ends in December, and Maya to emerge be gathered in fulfilled is equivalent to the Egyptian Meh. There you go. See how similar we are? These are things that you guys don't know. Well, it's different culture, isn't it? I'm not going to blame you for that, give you a hard time on that. Okay. An instrument has been found on the monument called the ka, used for throwing at birds and supposed to be the boomerang. Ooh, the Australian, right? Boomerang, Aborigine boomerang, perhaps. That's where it originated from. So maybe the Aborigines were Egyptian as well. They were there. According to M. Chabas, it is the Egyptian boomerang. So maybe the Aborigines got it from there. In the West Australian languages, the boomerang is named Kaili or Kili. Kylie Minogue? No. It is thrown by striking the ground to obtain a rebound into the air. And in Egyptian, ka expresses this throwing to the earth, also to rise up, but the full value of ka is kak or kek. And so forth. Now the word boomerang appears to be a reduced form of Borumurung, the name given to a scene in the most secret of the Maori mysteries. I don't think this guy's right. I think he's got his Aborigine things mixed up. At which a tooth was extracted from the boys who were then made into men. It does not look like a Maori word, right? It looks like more like an Aborigine one. A throwing stick was cut with much ceremony, and this was applied to the tooth and knocked against it by means of a stone. Oh, Collins, New South Wales, 1804, page 364. So yes, he's probably got it wrong there. Buru means the height of attainment. So poro in Maori means to complete, attain, end, termination, as in the Pura Bung rite. Mur in Egyptian is a circle, and Ankh, life. The kaika stick, which fulfilled the circle, was possibly a type of kak. The completer of the solar circle, which, as will be seen further on, would account for its application to the tooth knocked out, and so forth. The Maori also have their tatting in the game of catch kairo called Maui. This is the by the by is the name of the cat in Egyptian. In their Maui, they were accustomed to represent such scenes from their mythology as the Great Mother bringing forth her primal progeny, Maui fishing up the land, and other pictures of the beginnings in the forms assumed by the crossed or tattered lines. They were, I guess it's got here, Te Ika Maui, page 347. Tika, oh my gosh, Te Ika Maui, page 347. That's a book, a reference, right? Okay, might need a cup of tea over here. Drink a cup of tea. In their Maori, they were accustomed to represent such scenes from their mythology as the Great Mother bringing forth her primal progeny, Maui fishing up the land, and other pictures of their beginnings in the forms assumed by the crossed or tattered lines. They were repeating the work of Tatanan, tattling the figures of creation over and again and enacting scenes set forth by mythology. The first two tatted, however, and the earliest to cross the waters was the Great Mother herself in her water types of the hippopotamus and the crocodile. So these Egyptians weren't worshipping them as gods, you silly people that say that. Okay, they just venerated them because they saw a hippo giving birth in the water. Water is life. The hippo having this baby pop out, that's life. The crocodile who lived in the water, that's life. Water is life, etc., etc. And they put them on their figurines, their representations, all that sort of stuff. Okay, but these European archaeologists come along and Christians, whatever, and said, "Oh, that's Satanism and all this sort of stuff, right? They're the devils, they're pagans and all this stuff, right?" Because they probably want to undermine it. But yeah, that's what we know from listening to these Kemitic people, plus our own personal research. Yeah, over the years. Okay, and there's more comparisons on the Assyrians, the Maori, and the Egyptian words in their definitions, similarities, etc. Okay, so we think that's enough of that. Okay. Maori symbolism. Being an account of the origin, migration, and culture of the New Zealand Maori as recorded in certain sacred legends. Okay, this is a report made by E.T.A. Rout, New Zealand law court reporter. So she'd be pretty honest, wouldn't she? But this book has been said to be debunked and it's all fake and all this sort of crap. Okay, from the evidence of Hohepa, that's Maori for Joseph, Te Rake, an Arawa noble, so he's a chief of the Te Arawa tribe or iwi. It was a preface by Sir William Arbuthnot Lane, Bart, what's that? BART-CBMS. Okay, this is published around 1926. Okay, this book is dedicated to my fellow countrymen, the New Zealand Maori. Turn your face to the sun and the shadows will fall behind you. Maori proverbs. Proverb. It's a really old proverb. Contents page. We've already covered this book before, but we thought we'd go back and present it again. Contents, list of illustrations and plates, pictures, etc. Preface by Sir William Arbuthnot Lane, etc., etc. Careful reading of the manuscript of this book convinces him that it is one of the most valuable reports ever prepared regarding the natural mode of life for mankind and so forth. Okay, preface. And this is what we're interested in. Foreword by Hohepa Te Rake. This is the tohunga, or as you Europeans know, witch doctor, shaman, etc. Not necessarily evil, okay, or satanic. In ancient days, it would have been a crime to publish the sacred knowledge of his race, the Maori, and for such an offence, a chief would have been stripped of noble rank and probably booted out of the tribe, right, or iwi. But maybe even killed. But in the course of his travels, he has found that the people of all civilized countries regard the New Zealand Maori as a native, i.e. a savage. The English may talk of him as a fine man, but in their hearts they consider the Maori an inferior and a member of a backward race. Okay, here's an example. We walked into a Christadelphian church as we were working in a private hospital, and this man said his brother used to be part of that, and they're fleecing him for his money. So we just happened to be walking along a place in Auckland called New Lynn, and we found a Christadelphian church, right? This is no personal attack on them, it's just a fact of what we experienced. We went up to have a look, right? And it had a sign outside saying there is no devil, no Satan, all this sort of stuff, right? Well, okay, that's a bit of something to think about, watch out for, right? Because the Bible says, there's a devil, there's a Satan, whatever. Jews say there isn't. So, how can an angel created by God go against God? He's just created to do all God's will. Okay, so we walked in there, and okay, it's European. It's completely European. There's no Africans, no Chinese, no other peoples there, right? Like that, different races, right? So we just walked in, looking for a seat, and we saw this lady, seeing in her eyes. She was looking at us like, oh no, it's a Maori. He might steal my purse. And she's clinging onto it for dear life. And then she's like a hen gathering up her chicks, grandchildren, whatever, right? And we could just see it coming out of her. That there's that inner racist egg that's waiting to be hatched. Okay. And they'll say, "Oh no, I'm not racist," and they're really genuine people, but it's something that's like genetic. It's built into them. This is the gut instinct we have, right? Which proved right because I was her grabbing your bag, clinging onto it like for dear life, and then giving up all the children, right? Your grandchildren. Okay, but we listened to the service, enjoyed it because we had previously gone to some other Christadelphian church, but they said the thing was going to get closed down or something, or something like that. And so they were moving over to there. Well, they go to that one, the second one, whatever, right? And we actually met a nice Jew guy there, right? He had the little yarmulke on, all that sort of stuff. He was a nice guy, no problem with that guy. It's a really good conversation, good talk, and all that sort of stuff, debate, whatever they're talking about. It is desirable, therefore, to establish the facts of Maori culture. It's very important. As an example of the great need to clear up wrong conceptions, this Chief Tohunga quoted from the article on the Maori in the Encyclopedia Britannica. This is how old that encyclopedia is. It's over 250 years old. 11th edition, which may be said to reflect the mature opinions of European and American scientists. So they weren't willy-nilly. They were very mature, very adult in their intelligence and the way of thinking, etc. And the expressions. Every Maori was a soldier, and war was the chief business of joy of his life. Tribal wars were incessant. The weapons were wooden spears, clubs, and stone tomahawks. Cannibalism, which earned them in earlier years a terrible name, was generally restricted to the bloodthirsty banquets which always followed victory. The Maori ate their enemies' hearts to gain their courage. It's a bit like the Mayans, right? Something like that. Well, maybe they emerged from South America, because they emerged with those guys. They were those guys, right? Maybe, I don't know. But to whatever degree animistic beliefs may have once contributed to their cannibalism, it is certain that long before Captain Cook's visit, religious sanction for the custom had long given place to mere gluttonous enjoyment. The Maori had no regular marriage ceremony. Polygamy was universal, and even today they are not strictly monogamous. Okay, yeah, every culture's got players, It starts off at a young age. When you're a teenager, getting all these women, getting it now like a regular meal at McDonald's sort of thing, and it becomes a habit, right? And when you get older, nobody wants you anymore, and you get all like menopause and oh my gosh, desperate, all that sort of stuff. Haven't got a relationship. What's going on? Yeah, you haven't got that pull power anymore. So when you do find a relationship and it's really good, the chick's really in love with you, all that sort of stuff, the woman, you play around because it's habit. You can't help it, right? Plus male thing, The power of the husband over the wife was absolute, but women took their meals with the men, were allowed a voice in the tribe's affairs. So it was even Stevens, right? Equal rights, Women were allowed to say something, and sometimes accompanied the men into battle. Yeah, they're at the back doing the poi and probably being warriors as well. To put off the enemy, scare the crap out of the enemy with the expressions, their tongue being poked out and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes accompanied the men to battle. To one who knows the real facts, this is an inaccurate and degrading travesty of the facts of Maori life, and the insult is not wiped out by the patronising statement shortly following that the Maori is well liked and has been described as the Brighton of the South. In no circumstances are Maori science and history ever considered by Europeans in the same manner as the learning of their own civilization. This is from the book, it's not from us. What attention has been paid to them has been generally in the nature of the condescending study of a race of ignorant cannibals. Savages. It's a comedy you can watch. It's Billy T. James, he's like one of the funniest Maori entertainers on the TV, right? And Captain Cook and his crew pull up on this dinghy, land on the beach, and they say, "I say, savage," all that sort of stuff. We have brought you pearls or something, beads, or this for your woman or something, what do you call those other things, yo-yos or this sort of stuff. We don't need that now. We got this, that sort of stuff, real funny stuff. Yeah, go watch it, Billy T. James, very, very funny. New Zealand comedian, long past, but very, very funny. He's like the guy, what's his name? He's a marathon on there. He plays his mum and he plays his dad. I've forgotten his name. Jimmy. Jeez. Especially the one where he buys the guy at McDonald's and the guy throws the meat out. What the hell are you doing now? Oh, I'm a vegetarian. And he throws the bun away and all that. What the hell, bro? Yeah. Jimmy Jackson, that's his name. Yeah, he's pretty funny. Okay, go watch that guy as well. Okay. In no circumstances are Maori science and history ever considered by Europeans in the same manner as the learning of their own civilization. What attention has been paid to them has been generally in the nature of the condescending study of the race of ignorant cannibals, or savages. Had the Maori scientists realised this sooner, this Hohepa Te Rake was pretty sure that they would have consented to have these sacred legends recorded, and he's counting on the approbation of his seniors in his time in New Zealand, or Aotearoa, for what he was doing then. In Miss Iti Raut, the Maori have at least found a reporter and legend carrier who will accurately and honourably record the facts and feeling embodied in Maori legends. And he hereby declared that all the evidence not ascribed to others or known previously to the reporter has been furnished to her by himself, as some of the sacred legends actually handed down generation after generation by selected members of the Maori nobility. Because only they had those. They're like the high priest of Pharisees, They had these secrets. You could only know so much. Or the Roman Catholic priest, to the people, common people. Well, you can't learn that, and you can't just because we don't want you to know what it really says, all that sort of stuff. And then he finally wished to record the fact that his knowledge of these sacred legends was conveyed to him chiefly by the following Maori rangatiras. These are like chiefs, leaders, right? And tohungas, shaman, witch doctors, mystic practices. Rangatia, how do you say that? I can't remember, you know how to say it. Rangi te aurere. Rangi te aurere. Tu tenakai, hare hare, tamarangi, tiki tere, reti te huhu, and others. Actually, you think we might be part of that actual tribe? Yeah, affiliation, right? Part of our iwi. Who? Te, is that te hoi hoi? No, that's horse. It's not hey hey, that's chicken. So it's hu, yeah, and others. Hohepa Te Rake. That is a reporter's introduction. The major portion of the evidence in this report has been furnished by Hohepa Te Rake, the one we just told you about. But this lady, this writer, had endeavoured to record corroboration wherever possible, and she herself selected the illustrated matter. She had also compiled the glossary and index and tried to make both as accurate and useful as possible, but any amendments and improvements that can be suggested or would be suggested by students was most welcomed. The object of publishing this report was to preserve permanently some of the world's sacred legends, similar to those which have perished in the sagas and other lost and forgotten oral traditions. Hitherto, it is almost entirely the secular traditions of the ancient Maori, the songs and recitations of the people, and not the law and sacred legends which have been recorded in the numerous books written by Europeans about the Maori. Thus many misconceptions have grown up, and it will not always be easy to secure unbiased consideration for some parts of this report. And she carries on for a few pages. She quotes here, states here, in this report I am not stating any set opinions or theories of my own, and I have not excluded evidence which others may misinterpret, for example in regard to the Jews. And she wasn't suggesting that the Maori are Jews, rather that they are Israelites. There you go. One may realise the indebtedness, well they're actually descendants of the Israelites, right? One may realise the indebtedness of the world to the Jews for the preservation of the Hebrew legends, while at the same time suspecting that this literature no more belongs to them than the philosophy of Jesus belongs to the so-called Christian nations, and her endeavour throughout had simply been to record accurate evidence and fair comment. Record this faithfully and completely. In this way only can the worth of the ancient Maori civilization. In this way Might need some new glasses. In this way, only can the worthy of the ancient Maori civilization be revealed. And certainly, she hoped that this report would do something to counteract the many foolish and disgraceful untruths through which Maori culture has hitherto been so deplorably misunderstood. She also felt that the method of correct reporting would best aid scholars and scientists in the comparative study of mankind, and best aid the medical authorities who are endeavouring to benefit the health of Europeans by making known to them the superior hygienic wisdom and health practices of native races. This other guy in the preface, it's probably what he was talking about, if we recall right. Because they're very clean, they had to do certain rituals, to health-wise, to keep themselves clean, to keep themselves fit by practicing their fighting arts and doing war dances, all sorts of stuff. They weren't fatties. Okay. Today, the few unsport survivors. Okay, where is it? But most of all, her desire as a New Zealander, because she was an Australian, but she lived in New Zealand, so she was a Kiwi, has been to rescue from oblivion the sacred knowledge of her ancient Maori compatriots. Today, the few unsport survivors of the ancient Maori nobility behold taking notice of the deterioration of their race, the crumbling of their customs, and the wreckage of their lofty social ethics and religion. Down the gulf of time, the ancient culture threatens to disappear. Not a year is to be lost if we would record what were the foundations of this life of the past. For the centuries to come, we'll be increasingly less qualified to understand and appreciate the place occupied in the world of man by the New Zealand Maori, the bravest of all travellers, the greatest of all discoverers, and the most enduring, successful of all nation builders. It is true that their sacred health law is recorded only in abbreviated written form, and that for the most part its preservation is dependent on recitation. But every etymologist knows that sound rather than spelling is the safest record. Further, to the ancient New Zealand Maori, such oral traditions were a sacred trust successfully transmitted from one generation to the next for thousands of years. The Maori remembrance in this respect is the noblest fulfilment of national obligation that the world have ever known. Now, alas, it languishes. In the few native reserves left to them in New Zealand, there are ancient Maori elders struggling valiantly to impress on the present generation the importance of still memorising the sacred legends. But these elders are slowly and tragically sinking into despair and death. They're getting old, they're dying off, as the members of the present generation become increasingly Europeanised. The trained memories which were the trustworthy vehicle for so long are becoming fewer and fewer. Soon none will be left. For this reason, the author has chosen not memory, but the printed report for recording this evidence, and endeavoured to make it honourable, accurate and reverent. The reporting of these legends has involved more than 12 months incessant work, and the revising and illustrating occupied a further period of 12 months, altogether some 2 years, in addition to years of study in New Zealand. And yet she had recorded only a very small portion of the sacred legends of the ancient Maori, only as much as her limited funds permitted. Yeah, sometimes you need finance, right? Perhaps it is well to state here that her claim to be qualified to record such evidence faithfully and accurately. So those out there says, oh, it's been debunked because it's a load of rubbish, it's not true, all that sort of stuff. Well, there you go. She's stating there it's faithful and accurate, and it's based on many years' experience as a New Zealander, a New Zealand law court reporter, and over 30 years residence in New Zealand. So she lived here for over 30 years. For the sake of convenience, the narrative form has been adopted, and for the benefit of untrained readers, comparative references have, as far as practical, been limited to two easily available and popular ready reference works: the Encyclopedia Britannica, which again we see was 250 years old or more, and Mr. H.G. Wells' Outline of History. We have that book. That guy, he was a science fiction writer, historian. Some people say, oh, he's a science fiction writer. He's no historian, but we actually have that book. And he has covered Egypt, or since civilization was Neolithic, Paleolithic, etc. Goes on about, shows you diagrams of Serapis, Osiris, Horus, the Egyptian Serapis, Christus, and so forth. Yes, that's quite a good book. We picked it up at a job where there's a whole pile of books, so they said take them whatever you want. So, this is the biggest book we'll take down, and it happened to be the History of the World, Part 1. We've done videos on it. We've got a playlist. We can put the list, that playlist with, I think it's got about 6 or 7 books of it underneath this video, so you can go have a look at those if you're interested. Okay, so she goes on about the Maori, keeps doing it, yeah, it's very good. Lots of information here. It should be definitely recorded here that the results to the New Zealand Maori of their attempt at Christianisation are absolutely disastrous. The Maori people have been ruined, and the Maori civilization has been reduced to wreckage and obloquy, whatever that is. Obloquy. The basis of the economics was the community ownership of the land and of the necessaries of life. When this community ownership was destroyed, their whole social fabric was perished. The Maori was led to believe that by the Treaty of Waitangi, this community ownership would be preserved. Yeah, but they were lied to. The British did that quite a lot to different nations. And the Europeans and the Maori would live together in the Christian Brotherhood pictured by the missionaries. Yeah, and that was later rubbish. It never happened. Actually, not more than 1 in 10 of the Maori is as comfortable and happy and healthy as under the ancient Maori civilization. The vast majority have been exterminated, and many of those who have survived are demoralized and deteriorated almost beyond recognition as members of the great and noble race. So that's why it's very hard for us to try to fix the community, our people, try to sort them out, because they're just habitual drug users, alcoholics, fantasies about being gangsters and all this sort of stuff, right? Fighting with each other over minor things, right? Minor trivial things, stealing, all this sort of crap. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be a way to get to them. Yeah, maybe through Jesus the Christ, but yeah, they make up all this rubbish. Oh, Jesus was a sinner and all this crap. How'd you get that from? Oh, it's written in the Bible. It's like, oh, bro, Mary was this, Jesus was that. What a load of rubbish, You haven't even read it. Where's it all coming from? And then they take off because, they're obviously being exposed in front of everybody else. That's around, right? That's an idiot. I mean, I'm not an idiot, but, not very read up, to put it nicely.